Hello everyone, on behalf of H&N International team, I welcome you to this new live session, this time with a roundtable format. I'm Juliana Armijo, Technical Services Manager for Latin America. Today, I'm together with Xabier Arbe, Director of H&N International, and Fernando Carrasquer, in charge of the Global Technical Service. Xabier, how are you?
Good, thank you, Juliana. Happy to be here.
Great. And Fernando, what about you?
I'm fine, a little jealous. You know why? Because I'm in Spain, so winter outside we have less than 0 Celsius degrees. I know you, Juliana, you are in Chile,
30
in
degrees.
Santiago, so I imagine you have a very nice weather. And Xavier is in Bangkok, so I imagine you are also having a, really warm temperature.
Well, I mean, here we have cold. We are in winter.
Really?
Yeah, it's 26 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like winter, yeah?
I'm happy to be here to share your knowledge with the audience. Is the egg size a concern in your market? Do you want a new opinion about any challenges you have with egg size? Today, Xabier and Fernando will be talking to us about the basics for controlling egg weight and to share their field experience on egg size issue resolution. So this will be a very interesting session. Remember that we are broadcasting live, so feel free to interact with us by sending your questions in the comments here on LinkedIn. And all of them will be answered by Fernando and Xabier. Xabier and Fernando are experts with a very busy agenda, and today you have both to clarify any question you have about egg size. Just in case we lost connection from the streaming, we'll leave a link in the comments so you will not miss the session, the question and answers, okay? Let's start. Fernando, what are the basics of egg size at the management level?
Very, very good question. And well, there is 2 or 3 topics that are key points. But you know me, let me make a step back, okay, to see the big picture, okay, of egg size. I mean, first thing we need to know is which is the egg size we want to have, okay? I mean, there was a old Roman philosopher that said there is no good way if you don't know where you want to go. And this is true for everything in life, including egg weight, okay? So that's the first point. And this is the first, Xavier, this is the first, point or the first difficulty that we find when we are traveling around the world and speaking with customers in different countries, that in many cases, when you ask, okay, what do you want as egg weight? They say I want a very, very high egg weight, but this is how many grams? Is
Fernando, at the end, that's the focus, no? Nowadays with the modern genetics, and different markets, what is defined big in Spain is huge in another place. And what it is big in, let's say, Colombia, it's average in other places. So I think, the first thing, as you said, Fernando, is before thinking about what kind of egg size I want to target, I think first is what is the management guide says and what the market wants. And after that, you can start, for example, I think, Fernando, you can start talking about the management, no? Because, I think management is critical for the egg size.
Yeah. And there is 2 key points. 2 features that are having a big impact on egg weight. The first is the lighting program. Lighting program is having an incredible impact on egg weight. We can gain, and I'm telling you this by direct experience, till 3 grams per egg by using the right lighting program, which is quite nice. This is probably more than what we can do with genetics or even with nutrition. So it's really having a big impact, but it has a cost, okay? that we will need to delay the entrance into production, and that then we will have less eggs. Okay, so we need to take this into account for taking the right decision for our market. Okay, the second key point for egg weight is everything is increasing feed intake. Okay, for example, temperature. We know that. I mean, and that is something probably I'm sharing with Xabier. Okay, and he's sharing with nutrition. Okay, because yes, I mean, but everything is promoting a feed intake. At the end of the day, will help to have a higher egg weight. Also, it will come at certain costs. Okay, at this point, the cost will be a higher feed intake. So we will take a higher cost of production for every dozen. Okay, or for every single.
Fernando, at the end, it's a matter of I don't know, is the physics, no? I mean, if you want big egg, it has to come from somewhere, and it has to come from the nutrients. So, I mean, if the hen doesn't eat, forget about getting big eggs, because at the end, this is like, I mean, the concept. I mean, the concept of FCR, or whatever you want to call it, at the end is the transformation of the feed into eggs. No, so you need to give some feed to make big eggs. If not, forget about it.
Would agree. There is an extra ball when we speak about management and exercise, that is eggshell, or how to improve eggshell. Why? Because if we are having bigger eggs, the amount of calcium that the hen is dedicating for this, I mean, bigger egg, so bigger in weight, but also bigger in size, so in shape, so with a bigger surface, sorry, for cover with calcium, which means that probably the eggshell will be not as good as it will be in a smaller egg. So we need to pay attention to everything. If we want to produce big eggs, we need to pay extra attention to all that is related to eggshell promotion and eggshell quality.
Yeah,
because
at the end of the
we
day,
have bigger eggs, but they will be broken, so not sellable.
Fernando, at the end of the day, is I mean, it's a matter of making the calculation. No, it's like how many eggs I'm going to lose because I delay the light, how much, how many more eggs, broken eggs, I'm going to have because they are bigger, and the other one is how much more feed intake I'm going to have. But if I get paid, instead of paying €2, the 12 eggs is paid 4. So let's go. Let's go.
First of all, set a target on egg weight, which is related to your market, and then be excellent in the way of getting this exact egg weight, and in having the less production cost as possible, or the less high production cost as possible. That will be.
And it also applies the opposite, because I mean, if you don't get really pay extra for producing a bigger egg, why do you need to produce a bigger egg? Just make a smaller egg. You are going to have, as you said, Fernando, with the lighting program, more eggs, and then you make the economics. But again, that's I think more that we can discuss.
I think in the experience on a country with a flag that is yellow and green, and Juliana really loves country, but that in this big country, okay, for example, I'm speaking about Brazil. I mean, for example, producers are not paid by egg weight. I mean, there is not any promotion of egg weight from the market point of view. So people is not even. I mean, producers are not even measuring the egg weight. That's. I mean, they don't care. But if you are not having the right strategy for controlling egg weight, you will be producing eggs that are bigger, but are not paid extra, and you will have less total eggs. Okay, and that's the very nice experience in some Brazilian customers, where by using the right lighting program, especially, we have gained till 21 eggs per hen house, which is a fortune. I mean, for a average size producer in Brazil. Okay, so that's exactly the point, Xavier. That with egg size, we need to use the right tools, but we need to optimize, not maximize. Optimize for the market.
And Xavier, any comments on nutrition?
How many minutes do we have? No, I mean,
All you need, all minutes you need.
okay, so from the point of view of nutrition, definitely, I mean, the nutrition, I think, from my point of view, is going to be, it's the, let's say, is the gasoline, is the fuel, is the, as we were saying, no, is the nutrients that is going to accompany and is going to support the management, no? So it's true that there are some techniques from the nutrition point of view, some of the nutrients that they are going to be key for this kind of, for controlling exercise. But again, it's going to be very, sometimes it's, I mean, mainly it's going to be defined by the management. So if we have a proper management with the lighting program, as Fernando was mentioning, then is when the nutrition can start working, but also cannot do miracles, no, in general. Nevertheless, I mean, now you see that there are new options, new approaches to manage the exercise that they are quite interesting. And after that, I think probably we can go in details which one should be. But I want to make one reference that probably it has to be related to the modern layers. What we are seeing right now is that the modern layers, they are not going to stop laying eggs. And they are missing some nutrient, or they have higher demand from the point of view of maintenance needs. They will keep producing the eggs, but they will sacrifice the egg size. So as Fernando was mentioning, is sometimes is hot climate conditions, cage-free production. If we don't take into account that those birds, they have additional needs, the bird will not stop laying the eggs, but it will drop the egg size. So this is something new that perhaps in the ABCs of egg size, you're always going to say amino acid, fat, linoleic acid. But this is something new, not really new, but something that we need to take a little bit more careful consideration.
Perfect, very clear. To the audience, remember sending your questions in the comments here on LinkedIn. This is a roundtable, so in order to make the triangle become a circle, we need your participation. Next question, Fernando, regarding the light program. What is the biggest challenge have you seen with light programs?
Okay. There is a first challenge that is something probably is not quite evident, but is playing a very important role, is that people need to understand what is a light-proof house regarding the lighting program. That's the first point, and without this, it's very difficult to set the right lighting program. What I want to say with this, I mean, if our house have more than 3 luxes as light intensity, I mean, in all the area, in all the house, we cannot define our house as a light-proof house for a lighting program purpose. Okay, for other purpose, yes, it's a house. I mean, a house with 5-10 luxes that is quite dark. Okay, that have a very beneficial effect for other things, as the control of certain negative behaviors in the birds and others. Okay, but for the lighting program, this house with more than 3 luxes need to be take into account or consider a open house, and that is something is not is against the. I mean, it's not quite intuitive. Okay, it's not something you are.
It goes, Fernando. It goes to the against the language, no? Because yes. I mean, when you are buying a chicken, I mean, a laying farm, I mean, when you are buying, you are thinking, okay, I'm going to build a closed house. But a closed house, as you said very well, it doesn't mean that it's a light-proof house.
For regarding lighting program. And remember, what is having less than 3 lakhs in a house for a human eye? Is complete darkness. I mean, if you are in a light-proof house, okay, and with all your birds inside, and you switch off the lights, you will be not able to see any kind of light. Okay. Remember that the eyes of the birds are different from our eyes. Okay, so for us can be something very, dramatic or aggressive, but for them this is needed. Okay, that's the first point. Okay, then we need to understand that during the reading period we have a key point or a very important choose, that is, if we are going to have a step down the lighting program from 24 hours or 23 hours to the bottom of our lighting program, can be 10, can be 12, it depends on the type of house we have and the area of the world we are. Okay, but this step down can be done in a very aggressive way. That means -2 hours per, or -2, even more. Okay, well, yes, that's possible. -2 hours per week. What means that normally we reach this bottom before 6 weeks of life. Okay, and this is an option that is working very well for a number of eggs. And then we can have another option that is a slow step down, so -1 hour per week. Okay, and this is a program that is promoting exercise or egg weight. Okay, so it's working quite well, and it has an effect that is independent from the next thing I want to speak about. Okay, so that first point, how we do the step down in the breeding period. Later on, the key point for choosing the egg weight that we want in our hens is the body weight at stimulation. Body weight at stimulation. So, for example,
Fernando, I disagree with you because, for example, I would say is that, yes, I fully agree with the houses because this is the basics. But I will go, before talking the step down, I think is more often seen in the market, more often, because the question of Juliana was, what is the biggest challenge? Not all the challenges. So the biggest challenge, I would agree with you that the first one is the houses, and the second one, I think, is the body weight. Because I think there is some misunderstanding in the field that when do you have to give the lighting when do you have to give the light stimulation? And you see a lot of people still thinking on the age of the birds.
But we are agree, Xavier, because that was what I was saying. That
was the third, so we disagree. I will see you say that was the third, so I disagree. That I think the body weight is much more a bigger challenge after the houses, because again, as I said, most of the people keeps thinking about the ages of the bird. Hey, when I should give it, at 16 weeks, at 17 weeks, instead of thinking the body weight.
That's right.
Because sometimes it takes time to get the body weight, or we don't have the people or the resources, or we are not used to it.
Come on, it's something very simple. You just need to take a body weight at 16 weeks, maybe twice, and the difference, in money is huge, because you will be targeting your flock to the egg weight that you need, and that have a massive effect in the turnover of your flock. Because if you want a flock that is you don't need egg weight, and you are starting a very late production with a very high egg weight, you are going to have less eggs, higher mortality, worse egg-shell quality. That's a disaster. And it's just to waste 2-3 times at 16, 17, 18 weeks in the worst of the cases.
Yeah.
And I have to say
how many times you ask, hey, when do you give the light stimulation? And they tell you at 17 weeks. And then you say, okay,
But
What body
yes,
weight?
yes.
I don't know, because we have in the standard where we have to give us.
I have a worse answer in many cases. It's at first sex.
Yeah, that could be even worse, no? But I mean, I think that's one of the challenges that then you cannot overcome with the feed or with any trick, because if you don't have a reference of the body weight, it doesn't work. I mean,
If we are in a scenario, okay, where the customer is willing to have a high head weight, okay, and the market is paying extra for jumbo, extra large, whatever is the last, the last classification of eggs in the market, okay, and you have a stimulation during the breeding period or 16 weeks because you are or not understanding what is a light-proof house or not doing right your lighting program, you are never ever reach the egg weight that you need for being able to reach this extra classification of the eggs. And that's,
yeah, and I
in the
think
economic point of view,
language,
it's
yeah,
a disaster. It's a disaster.
language makes a lot of difference, no? I mean, because I mean, you see that the people tell you, oh, I have a closed house, and I do the light stimulation at this age, and then suddenly you visit the farm and you see that the production house, it has all the fans, and you see all the light.
Let's give a tip to the
It is a closed house. It is a closed house. Definitely, it's a closed house, because if we compare with the open house with just nest and curtains, definitely it's a closed house. But I think in the language, in the details of the language, is the things. I think is we need to think about it, as you said very well, Fernando. If it's a life proof or not life proof. Forget about writing in the management guides, and probably we should be the first one correcting that one. Is that we need to have, if you have a life proof house or non-life proof house, instead
like
of talking close or open.
Yeah, fully agree. Let's give them the audience a small tip about how to know which kind of lighting program are you using. Okay, if your birds, your flock is on body weight in the standard body weight. Okay, if your flock is achieving 50% production around 145 days of life, you are having a lighting stimulation for a number of eggs. Okay? If your flock is achieving 50% of production around 150 days, you are having a light stimulation for the standard. What that means? What is the standard? The standard of the egg weight in the management guide. Okay, what is in our management guide? If you are achieving the 50% of production after 150, 155 days, you are making a light stimulation for egg weight. Okay, and normally you are said to have a higher egg weight than the standard. But remember what I say, this is working very nicely if your pullets were on body and on the standard body weight. If they were delayed, then you need to make a correction because your birds were not having the real, I mean, then that means that there is a difference between, the age in days and we can tell this, the physiologic age of your birds because they were delayed in growth, so also delayed in a physiological point of view. Okay.
But also one of the things, an important thing, because just before someone makes the question, we cannot do a special feeding in that moment to hold the birds like a super booster, something like try to recover what we didn't get. Okay. So the point is that as Fernando was saying, is if we are going to delay the production because the body weight is not there, it has to be done with the feed that we have there, and that moment is that we are using. And later on, what we have to do, or we have to start thinking about it, is what has happened during the rearing, what has happened at the end of the rearing, so we couldn't achieve the body weight. Because I mean, don't think that if the pullets were coming underweight because we had issues or challenges and things like that, we can do a super extra amazing magic feed. Let's put it in this one, a magic feed that is going to solve the problems in that period of time that is before the starting of the production. At that moment, you just hold the birds, try to hold them as much as possible with the feed that you have, and then just brace yourself for impact. Not like that, but I mean, you are going to struggle, and there's going to be, I mean, for my case, in those kind of flocks, I rather go for a medium, a small type of eggs than trying to push too much. Because if you push those flocks, they are going to, I mean, it's going to be how much? 60 weeks of pains, or 80 weeks of pains because it's going to have prolapse issues and all these kind of things. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's you say a magic word, prolapse. Okay, this is probably the reason why there is so many producers all around the world. They are not using lighting programs because they are afraid about prolapse. And I'm telling you, if you are respecting the stimulation with a pullet that is over 1.2 kilos average in white layers and over 1.4 kilos average in brown layers, you are not going to have problem of prolapse because of the lighting stimulation.
Wait, Fernando, you forgot the magic word.
No. I know. I go for that. I go for it. I mean, I say average, but remember that the stimulation is making an individual way. Okay, so every single bird is stimulated when you are increasing the number of lights. So be really careful with this with the smaller birds in your flock. Okay. Which for example, we have different strategies. For example, for in some cases, I'm telling people, okay, you can do the stimulation where your birds are reaching 1.2 kilos, okay, in body weight, but 90% of your birds need to be over 1.1 kilos. Okay, this is for white. For white. Good point. The difference, I mean, or the result, the level of prolapse is so low that it's no longer a problem. So that's the key point. Okay, not just the average, but also we can say those birds with the smaller or smallest body weight. The lower.
And in the browns, Fernando. And in the browns, what would be the 1.3, no, more or less, or what?
We were 1.445, 1.4 average, and over 1.3, 1.35. Yeah.
But for me, I mean, and now I'm just going to put my nutrition part. There is that, I mean, for those kind of things that to achieve those body weights, I mean, definitely the key point, and to control all the exercise and whatever we are saying, and to get the right body weight, is going to be the pullet body weight the first 5 to 6 weeks. Yeah, this is something that I think is everyone is talking about eggshell quality, longevity type of situations, but I think is for the point of view of exercise, it's also very, very crucial, no? Because there you have the development of the carcass, of the structure of the bird, and I mean, there are 5 weeks, 6 weeks that is going to be 350, 400 grams of feed per bird, that they are very important. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can see if we go to the broilers, I mean, you see the amount of money they are spending in the pre-starter in the first 7 days, 10 days, and they know is that, okay, the body weight the first 7 days, it's telling me how efficient I'm going to be. In the layers, is that if you get the body weight the first 5 days, or sorry, first 5 weeks, you know that you are not going to have a problems of eggshell quality or prolapse in the future. No, that's amazing. Nevertheless, in layers, you don't really need to spend as much money as they do in broilers, but they need to think about it, and this is something always a hot topic, and sometimes I guess that we might sound a little bit boring when we talk to each other, Fernando, but this is the feeder space. I mean,
that was my point, Xavier. That the sorry for saying it, but I mean the key point, the way of making miracles in the body weight growth during breeding is not in the hands of the vet, is not in the hands of the nutritionist. We are
come on.
just saying to
Just
do
a little
our
bit,
job right.
Fernando, just a little bit.
It's like this. I mean, if you do your job in an honest way, so you make a honest feed, and I don't ask to the producer to make a crazy vaccination program. If we do our way in an honest way, okay,
Yep.
and then the big difference, the big key point is centimeters of feeder per bird.
Yeah, and that's something that is not density, yeah, is
No,
feeder space.
And
Because
remember,
yeah,
because you were telling a very important point is these critical weeks where the growth is having a so important impact in the life of the bird. So from 0 to 6, 7 weeks, okay, we need to increase the feeders centimeters before that happens. That means from week 2, week 3, if we can give full space of feeders, better. Okay, I understand that during the first week, first 10, 15 days, well, especially in some countries, the birds, are still point kilo term. That means that they cannot produce their home, I mean, heat there for heating themselves by using the feed. Okay, so we need to keep them in a special place with a controlled temperature. And I understand that. Okay, at that point, make no point to have all them having all the space. But as soon as you can, after these 10, 12, 14 days, try to give them as much feeder space as possible. And your birds, if the vet is not doing crazy things, if the nutritionist is giving you a honest feed, the birds will fly. Okay, that's the point.
Fernando, Xavier, I have questions in me. The first one is for you, Xavier. Dr. Mehadi Hassan, thanks for arranging such an event. Is there any particular nutrient that has impact on egg weight?
So I would say is that the first primary ones to control egg weight, I would say, would be the amino acids. And definitely, if you go to the books, okay, everyone is going to say is if you forget to put methionine, the egg size is going to crash. So that was going to be always the first amino acid. But then after that, there's going to be the other scale that is going to be the lysine, the threonine, the tryptophan. And we see more and more that sometimes it could be also even the isoleucine. It could be the limiting factor from the point of amino acids. If we have that package there, then from the point of view of limiting the egg size, I would say, is going to be the linoleic acid. But it's a limitant, okay? So as any nutrient, I mean, there is a moment that you put certain level, and the more you put, doesn't matter, that is not going to have a really effect on the egg size. Then is when you reach that moment, that is that you reach, let's say, the plateau on the response or the physiological response of the linoleic acid, is when you need to start thinking about thinking back, let's put it in this way, in the amount of amino acids that that the bird has available for egg size. And now we go probably to a physiology class, a little bit boring, but okay, I will try to make it very easy. I mean, we have as an energy source, the bird as an energy source is going to use starch, fat, and amino acids. So when we make a diet that is low in fat, because the palm oil, the soya oil, the coconut oil is expensive, the main energy is going to come from starch, and amino acids. So when the bird starts burning amino acids for energy, because it's the type of diet that we have, we enter into a risk that the exercise is not going to be, or is not going to be optimized. So when we want to have a booster from the point of view of exercise, the amount of fat in the diet matters. So adding some additional fat, you can reduce the amount of amino acids in the diet, and you can have the same amount, the same size, or even better than in a similar circumstances when you only have, let's say, a low fat diet. So those are probably the main issues. And as I mentioned again, is the energy as a part. But again, it's a multifactorial situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will also, Xabier, highlight, because it's something related, the importance of fat for the liver health, which is
then I mean, then we will start talking. I mean, the goods of having some crude palm oil, coconut oil, soya oil, type of. But yeah, I mean, sometimes, and I'm going to be the first one saying is that sometimes, everyone has a budget. And they say, okay, what about if I reduce, instead of having 2% of fat, like Xabier tells me to put, or oil, what about if I put 1.5? Very good, I do 1.5. Oh, nothing happened. But then, as you say, Fernando, in the longer term, and also don't keep this one in mind. I mean, the enzymes, they are very useful for reduce the price of the raw materials. You can squeeze them raw materials much better. You can extract nutrients that they are not available for the hens. But what it does sometimes to the diet is to reduce the amount of fat, because sometimes is the amount, or oil is the most, sometimes is the most expensive source. So if you put the enzymes and then suddenly you see that you don't have any oil in the diet.
Yeah. I mean, me as Bet, I mean, I'm telling you that fat is really helping us in reducing mortality in the latest stage of life of the birds, and not so late, not so late sometimes.
And put it in this way, and let's put it in this way. It makes the feed more juicy.
Yeah.
The hens like to have this juicy. I mean, just like, okay, here, I mean, we are close. I mean, Thailand, we are close to Japan, and you see this Wagyu type of feed, or in Spain you have the Spanish ham. That kind of fatty thing that you have makes the meat more juicy and tender, and I mean, I eat it. If I can pay from time to time, it's really nice to eat one of those. And the hens also like. I mean, the hens like that kind of fatty juiciness in the feed, no?
Perfect. We have more questions. Javier Moreno, thank you very much for in advance. Any recommendation in hot weather so that the weight of the eggs does not fall?
Fernando, management.
Very good
Buy a
question.
closed house. Buy a closed house.
No, not a closed house, a dynamic ventilation house. I mean,
yeah.
The point here is we cannot ask for miracles. Okay, if we are in a hot temperature, okay, in a hot weather area, one of the first effects of this warm temperature will be a decrease in feed intake. Okay, and this decrease can be, 5, 6, 10%, even more. Okay, it's not possible that Xabier's nutritionist can compensate this loss in feed intake. It's not possible. And if this is possible, he will ask you for a price for the ton of feed that you will not willing to pay. Okay, so it's.
Well, Fernando, I have to tell you that that's something that, yes, I fully agree. I mean, we cannot replace a drop of the feed intake. Completely. That's definitely what we can is minimize. And what I have to tell you is that that we have this R&D facility that we have now for testing different feeds for our birds. And in our recent trial that we finished, it was in white birds, okay, but I think it's applied to brown birds, so we will test more. But we found out something quite interesting. Low crude protein diets with pushing the synthetic amino acids, it showed very interesting results from the point of view of exercise and performance. I mean, and again, we have to, like any science, you see the results and you have to test it again. But it has been very interesting to see the effect of this. And there was, as you said, Fernando, you know, our R&D farm, it's close, it's not light proof, and it's not really tunnel ventilation type of thing. So it's quite basic thing. And it was quite fascinating to see that, I mean, what you learn long time ago in the books of physiology, no, is like, I mean, the nitrogen, when you reduce the nitrogen of the diet, it means low crude protein diets. The metabolic effort that the bird needs to do for getting rid of those kind of things goes away. And the other one, using synthetic amino acids, what is really helping is from the point of view of the efficiency of the absorption. I mean, one of the things that you know is that when you have in a hot heat stress situation, I mean, all the metabolism changes. There's going to be more effort from the point of view of basic needs, painting, flapping, all those kind of things. So if you have, I mean, and if you are using raw materials that they are highly digestible, like they are the synthetic amino acids, that effort, that energy that is used there is less. And the amino acid, and let's say a lot of times the absorption of this amino acid is passive. So it's true, Fernando, that is not a cheap diet, but I think it's something to think about it, because the other option that is concentrated the diet doesn't give you much success. It's just to minimize the challenges, no? So, I mean, we will, I hope that we can share more in the future, especially this year when we have all the results. But it has been quite fascinating that how the drop of the feed intake happened, but the exercise remained the same, just low crude protein diets and pushing the levels of synthetic amino acid. I mean, sometimes they don't enter because they are expensive or whatever. No, I mean, especially when it depends on the prices of the soy and things like that. But I mean, it could be a strategy that we will keep investigating.
This is quite interesting and probably is a way of acting. But coming back to my point is, if you want to keep a good exercise, probably you need to go for a dynamic ventilation.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of dynamic ventilation? It depends on your country. I mean, in some countries, power is something is that, and there's no problem. In other countries, power is a, I'm not going to say the word, is something is very complicated, and you are having cats 3 times per week, and then to work with a dynamic house is not so convenient, or is not so.
All the expenses.
But
here in
if we are
Philippines,
not having a good ventilation, and remember, because this is a critical point. Good ventilation starts by good isolation, and especially the isolation in the roof. So if you are not able to have a state-of-art house with tunnel ventilation and pad coolings, at least invest in the isolation in your roof and having some kind of air speed inside the house, okay, and then you can be step by step. And then
we need some more questions, no? I think we have to give Juliana more options.
Yes.
Oh no, but there is another critical point, Xavier, because you speak about the feed, but there is also a critical asset that is even more important than feed, because if with that there is no feed, it's water.
Yep.
Okay, so keep your water as fresh as possible. keep your water as fresh as possible. And that means if you can have, for sure, the water deposits need to be, undercover, we're isolated from heat, we're isolated from sun rays. If you can have a system when the water deposits are underground and then you have a pump for this is even better because you will keep the water fresher, but this is a critical point. And if in any case, flush the water pipelines as soon as possible or as often as possible. That's critical. There is people say no, put ice in the water deposits. Okay, that's great, but it's better to have for doing this. It's better to have your water deposits underground because that the water will be at 18 degrees. This is normally enough. Okay, for having a good water intake. And from a good water intake comes a good feed intake. If the water is hot, there's no feed intake, and that is very difficult to keep this equation right.
Fully agree, Fernando.
Good point.
Yes. We'll have more questions. Let's take a break. If you need some coffee or make a brief call, now is the moment, 3 minutes, and we'll come back. And if you want to stay, we have some interesting video for you.
H&N bring joy to every place. Through fields and farms, through skies so wide, we spread the cheer far and wide. Finally, the crowd of proud. H&N, the best in town. Feel that joy, let's gather near. Celebrate the new year. Hold your hand deep the mistletoe lights. Whisper sweet nothings on each soft winter night. In your arms, I'll forever stay as the world spins around in a holiday. With every laugh in this countryside, we find a love that won't ever hide. Hear the rhythm of a heart's own song. We count the moments where we both belong. Finally, the crowd of proud. H&N, the best in town. Feel that joy, let's gather near. Celebrate the new year.
H&N International, genetics and more.
From cherished flocks, global grace. H&N bring joy to every place. Through fields and farms, through skies so wide, we spread the cheer far and wide. Finally, the crowd of proud. H&N, the best in town. Feel that joy, let's gather near. Celebrate the new year. Hold your hand deep the mistletoe lights. Whisper sweet nothings on each soft winter night. In your arms, I'll forever stay as the world spins around in a holiday. With every laugh in this countryside, we find a love that won't ever hide. Hear the rhythm of a heart's own song. We count the moments where we both belong. Finally, the crowd of proud. H&N, the best in town. Feel that joy, let's gather near. Celebrate the new year.
H&N International, genetics and more.
are back with another questions. What should be the lighting time period and optimum looks of the light stimulation? Thanks for the good program.
This is a very interesting question. It's also a critical point. I mean, we have spoken before about when to do the lighting stimulation, when the birds reach the right body weight. But we didn't speak about how, okay? And the thing is quite easy, is at least increase 1 hour, okay, for the first light stimulation, at least 1 hour. In some cases, you can go for even 2 hours, okay? And me, personally, I prefer to start the stimulation by the dawn, okay? Not by the dusk, but by the dawn, by increasing through the morning, okay? Or through the dawn of the sun, okay? And then keep increasing 1 hour per week, okay? That's very important. And that's, again, in the, you know, is something is shared with the nutritionist, because what we are, I mean, once we have done this first increase, okay, of hours of light, the birds are stimulated, okay. We have some the clutch, okay. We have called them to the arms for starting laying, okay. So the effect is done. The effect is done, okay. Why are we are willing to increase 1 hour every week after that? Because we want more time for feed intake, okay, which is a very important thing in this moment of the life of the birds. I think Xabier want to add something on that.
No, I mean, that's we need them to eat. We need to reach the 110 in the case of the whites and 115 grams in the case of the browns as soon as possible. So, I mean, if we can have those numbers, but by week 21 somehow, great.
My friend.
I mean, if we can 21, okay, 22, something like that, but get it as soon as possible, no? And then Fernando, the luxes, again, I don't think
I go for this. Just one point is on this feed intake, because I think it's critical point for this moment of the life is after 10 weeks of life till 25, one of the things we need to really take care of, one of the parameters we really need to take care, and for me is as important as body weight and as uniformity of body weight, is feed intake. We need to promote this feed intake, because that is what will assure of success in achieving the peak of production. And this is something we need to have very clear in our mind, that is a critical asset, it's a critical parameter. We really need to focus on it. Xabier, I think you are right.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have nutrient intake, forget about anything that you want to do. There's no development, there are no egg size, there are no eggs, there are no anything. There is no eggshell quality. So I think fully agree, Fernando. And I said, you you start with the amount of hours, but also the luxes. Also, you need to really be careful. In the open houses that still, I mean, we have a lot of egg producers that they are in really open houses with no really dark sheds. So that's
I go for this point. I mean, that's the point also is to start knowing which kind of equipment we have. And remember, light intensity is not homogeneous or uniform in a house. Okay, you have, especially if this is a light-proof house, it depends on your bulbs or your illumination system. If you are in open house, for sure, the windows you will have sunlight entering by these windows, and then you will have a higher light intensity. Okay, knowing that, which is the minimum light intensity you need for doing a good light intensity, light stimulation? there is a several old publication on this, and what they are telling us is over 5-10 laxes is enough. I'm recommending you this? No. I'm recommending you, if you are working in a light-proof house, to go to a higher light intensity that will be around 20, 25 laxes, okay? Even 30. Why? Because as a light intensity is not uniform, if you are giving 5 luxes average, in some areas you will have less. And then you will have a light stimulation that is not uniform in the full house. It's very evident, this is very evident, for example, when you have houses where the bulbs are in the roof, okay? And when you go for light stimulation, you can see that the higher levels in the cages, okay, in the batteries, are starting laying, but the ground level is still not. Those birds in the ground level are still not starting laying. Why? Because they are not receiving enough light intensity. That's why I'm asking you, increase slightly, and when we are speaking about light-proof houses, I'm telling you 30, 35, something like that. I mean, it depends a lot in your lighting system. The better is your lighting system, and the more uniform is the light density in the house, the lower you can do the light stimulation. Okay, but something like that. In open houses, we need to change completely our way of thinking. Okay, because in open houses we are not controlling light intensity. Okay, so at that point, I mean, normally we have sun coming sunlight coming from outside. This have, I will tell you, in some cases 50,000 to 4,000 luxes. So it's much more than what we need. Okay, and what we don't want is to have, very dramatic increases or very high or strong increases in this light intensity. Okay, because that will cause a high level of stress of the birds, and that can lead to a problem of behavior problems, as picking and others. Okay, so in that case, in open houses, what I'm telling you is just have the same light that you have in the breeding house, okay? And have enough bulbs for having a level in the house that is around 40 or to 30 luxes, okay? Because in any case, in the size of the house, you will have more, okay?
Mhm.
And I think
Perfect.
I'm forgetting something. Yeah,
Sorry,
that is.
sorry. It's okay.
Yeah. In any case, there is a really nice publication in the website. I think that is everything. But that's the thing. I mean, avoid these drastic increases and keep a uniform light intensity, because that's enough. Okay. For those working in open houses and cage free. Okay, and we know there is still many in some countries, African countries, or in South America, even in Asia. Okay, people that still are not working with cages. Do not, I mean, between the task and the shutdown of the lighting, the artificial lightings, don't give more than 1 hour 30. Why? Because in any case, there will be a decrease in the light intensity, and that can be understood for the birds as a kind of long task. Okay, and some of them can go nesting, and while they are nesting, they are not eating, and then why we need this, they are not using these hours of light. Okay, so small advice.
Do feed intake and feed consumption have an impact on egg weight, or is it related to the quality of feed? Thanks for the nice event.
Oof. It looks like a question like chicken or the egg. Definitely, I mean, okay. When we design a feed, we decide what kind of nutrients or what levels of nutrients we are going to put in the feed. We need to take two things into account. The first one would be is the feed intake that I can have in the farm. So what do I mean with this one? When I design a feed and I design that feed for a target feed intake of 115 grams, I need to be sure that those birds can eat 115 and it's not a house, an open house with 35 degrees, so they're only going to eat the birds 107, 110 grams. If I make that feed of 115 target feed intake, 115, and I send it to this house that the birds are not able to eat more than 110 grams because it's very hot, my feed is going to fail, and also I'm not going to have the feed intake. So that was the first factor. The first factor is going to be what is the target feed intake, and if that target feed intake I can achieve in the farm. And the second one is, of course, is going to be the cost of that feed. I mean, sometimes, as Fernando was joking, is that when the feed intake is limited because of the temperatures, you need to concentrate the diet proportionally. So it means that you need to put more energy, you need to put amino acid, everything has to be proportional. You can see that, for example, in our management guides, you are going to have the daily needs of energy, then the daily needs of amino acids, and the daily needs of calcium and phosphorus. So all that information has to be packaged and transformed in a feed with a target feed intake. If you, I mean, and also in the same way, in the opposite way, let's say, in the opposite way, you make a feed of 115, but you are in Russia and it's very cold, and the birds are eating 130, I would say that you are wasting your money.
The health of the birds.
Because those birds are going to eat a very expensive feed when they don't really need to eat such expensive feed, and you can do something more, how to say, bulky. Yeah. So I think it's in the layer feed, making layer feed is different from broiler feed. And I would say is the first one is you need to have in mind is what is the target feed intake, and if that target feed intake can they achieve it in the farms that the feed is going. I always say is that look, Nick Chick is our white bird, huh? And in the US is going to eat 105, let's say 110 grams. In Turkey is going to eat 115. And in Europe is going to eat 120. What is the difference? The nutritionist. The genetic is the same, but the nutrition is based on a target feed intake, and the cost of the feed, they target one feed intake. In the US, they have a very cheap corn, very cheap soya, so I can make a concentrated diet. I can target 100 feed intake, 110 feed intake. In the other places, there are different availability of raw materials, different sources, so they need to figure out what should I do.
Mm-hmm.
There is one extra point on this, is what we have been spoken on this before, is the temperature.
And that's another factor, but the fact, I mean, that temperature is going to determine the target feed intake.
Yes.
So,
yes. It's having a role there. And
it is the role. So I mean, can I have that feed intake? Yes or no? No. Okay, let's go with the question. If not, Juliana is going to get
Okay.
angry, and after that, she's going to punish us because we talk too much and we didn't go.
No, it's okay. Like summer sessions, do winter sessions also have an effect on the egg size in an open house?
Oh yeah, big time.
Yep. That's what we were speaking about. I mean,
Yeah.
the temperature. But what is the effect of the low temperature? That the needs, the energy needs are increasing, so the feed intake is increasing. And in this feed intake, there is nutrients and other things. I mean, especially amino acids that are coming extra, and that's the point. So, if we cannot control this, okay, it's like this, and there is not many things we can do, okay. But if we are working in a house where we can control more or less the temperature, okay, by decreasing or increasing the level of ventilation, and always speaking about levels of ventilation that we are keeping a good air quality, okay. Probably many people knows that, or maybe not, that the best temperature for having the best transformation index between feed and eggs is 27 Celsius degrees. Are we recommending you to work at this temperature? No. And
No, please.
what no? Because many of you are working in cages and you have different levels. So if you are setting 27 for the second level on top, okay, they are at 34. And those birds are really struggling for eating and living and laying. So we are not, but from a scientific point of view, the best temperature for having the best transformation is as high as 27, okay? What we are working in the real world, okay? Normally, when you want to have a good transformation, we are speaking to work around 24 Celsius degrees, okay? 24, to set the temperature in 24, okay? That make more sense.
But if you want more exercise, it's better going lower.
You can go to 22, even 21,
Yeah.
okay? If your system is allowing you to have this,
Yeah.
okay? You can go lower, yes, but you are increasing. I mean, then remember, we are here for producing eggs, but especially for making money from this egg production, no? So at some point, make no sense. And that another failure that happens very often is people is not interested in egg size. Still, they are working at 21, 20. Or are setting the temperature at 21, 21 Celsius degrees because they think this helping of having a better quality. That could be, but they need to understand what is the cost this, because we are speaking, Xabier, about 3-4 grams of difference in feed intake minimum.
Yes, but now I'm going to work a little bit as a veterinarian. So I'm going to jump into your field. I'm going to say is that, I mean, when you increase, I mean, also one of the things, that parameters that can affect this kind of temperature is also going to be the ventilation, no? I mean, when you are, depends on in which climate you are, changing the temperature might change the patterns of ventilation. And if you don't have enough ventilation, then you are having diseases and things like that, no?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but okay, it's exercise, we were talking about exercise, but I wanted just to talk about, I wanted just to poke your veterinarian heart.
Oh, you need to have a balance. I mean, but I mean, and balance is the opposite of disbalance. Okay, so if you are having the best air quality in the world, okay, and you are having a really low level of ammonia, blah, 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 but your production costs has getting rocketed, that's not what you want. So you need to have some balance between the different things. And don't misunderstand me. I'm the first one willing to have a good ventilation, okay? And the first one saying, okay, you need to take out the manure as soon as possible, if possible, even 3-4 days, for having less ammonia in the air, okay? And I want to have a minimum ventilation winter and winter and summer. Summer is not needed, but in winter for sure. That is something for me is critical for decreasing the level of respiratory diseases. And that I will tell you, ammonia or dust, in many cases, they are starting, respiratory disease with a different virus, helping this virus to, start these processes. And then if we have mycoplasma, the things are getting worse. And then we have a big outbreak with Escherichia coli. Okay, that is happening all around the world. And that's something I want to avoid. Yes, for sure. But
just only because I poke his heart of the ventilation. Okay.
Yeah, you were the one that started this.
Yeah, my fault.
But
Good.
you need to have
Okay.
a balance between this and having a good cost of production. And for this, working at 20, 21 degrees, if your objective is not egg weight, is a mistake.
Yeah.
Point.
Okay.
The last questions.
Okay, good.
Can you use peanut oil?
Peanut oil. I have to say I don't have experience with peanut oil. I can tell you that sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, coconut oil, palm oil, soya oil, oleins. I have experience and they're good. For peanut oil, I'm not. I mean, I don't know how available it is. The quality. I mean, with the oils, always think about quality, and the quality is also talking about oxidation. Be sure that these oils are not oxidized, because I mean, if they are oxidized, then you have a bigger problem, and you're going to have feed refusal and a lot of issues.
Perfect. Fernando, Xabier, conclusions about the egg size?
Just only one conclusion, or how many?
I mean, my conclusion is make a step back, see the big picture, understand what you need for your market, and then use the tools you have for getting this egg size, which is mainly one, use the right light stimulation, then adapt your nutrition to the egg weight you need, and third, have the right temperature in the house, or try to control the temperature in the house for having the best temperature for having the egg weight that is, paying you back better. Okay, and then from these three, there is many things. Okay, but these are the three main points.
I would say is adding to what Fernando's saying in this step back, fully agree that we have to do is, where you want to go, but also make a deep analysis of the facilities that you have. I mean, the facilities that you have, as we discussed, it was very important. Do I have a light-proof house or not light-proof house in production? Because remember that that's going to be the one that is going to define whatever you have to do in rearing. The rearing farm has to mimic what is going to happen in the production house. So you might have, doesn't matter what you have in the rearing house, but it's important is going to be in the production house. And then saying that one, I mean, in that step back, body weight, and then the nutrition again is just try to have a target feed intake. So you have the needs. You can find the needs in the management guides, but then you need to define the feed based on a target feed intake that, as we discussed, is defined by the temperature and is defined of the housing that we have. So I think those are some of the conclusions. And again, it's not just only one single thing. Huh? As Fernando was mentioning, is 4 things just as a starter, but those are the big ones. But there are also, then later on, there are little things that we need to take into account. So it's I mean, we are always like to discuss egg size, Fernando? This is just like,
I will add an extra thing, okay?
yeah.
If you want egg size, keep an eye on Excel quality. I said it before, I said it again, because if you are having a wonderful egg size with a very big eggs, but they're being broken in your getting facilities, they're not making money from this. So
yeah, I mean, and a certain point, I would say is that, I mean, we like to talk because it's a complex situation, but also sometimes, I mean, I want to say is that don't feel scared because we make a lot of questions. When you tell us is I have a problem of egg size, we tend to make a lot of questions because it's a multifactorial issue. So, I mean, I like it because I mean, I like it because I'm coming and Fernando also because of his experience in Spain. We are coming from a market that is really crazy about egg size. So it's always a challenge, but fascinating challenge.
Perfect. A last question of the audience concerning the target feed intake. So you mean we should follow that to get the right egg size? If in and where we gave more, can it be a reason of not reaching the egg size on the standard?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, let's say it's like if you make a target feed intake of 115 and the birds are not eating 115, the egg size will decrease. If you are making a target feed intake of 115 and the birds are eating 120, it means that your calculation, something went wrong. But always these kind of things, always we need to think about based on the premises that Fernando was saying, is that we give the light stimulation at the right body weight. So then everything can go smooth and I can evaluate how my target feed intake is working.
Perfect. Well, for more information, you can check our website in the campus. Go to live and past sessions to see this video and the previous one. And you can find in downloads more information about egg size and light programs. Xabier, Fernando, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your knowledge and experience. We also want to thank to all attendees and for all your questions. We'll let you know in LinkedIn about our next live session. Have a great day.